the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a Tuesday night. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. Talking about Age of Sigmar and everything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Hey, it's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a Tuesday night. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Remington, and good evening, world, to the Andy and Rem Show, episode 60. Still going strong at 60. It's impressive. So, Mr. Rem, have you got your calculator ready?
60? That's retirement age, isn't it, almost?
We're getting there. I'm serious, by the way, Mr. Rem. I hope you have got your calculator, because we are going to be talking a little bit about points tonight.
Oh, God. Great. I can't
have you got
wait.
a calculator and a pillow, in fact?
I've also got a pile of ironing ready. So we might have to do a bit of ironing while we're working stuff out.
The live Remington laundry folding session, which is what people have been demanding, actually. So let's see who we've got in the audience. A packed house, as always. Let's see who's made it onto the fabled active users list so far. We've got Gloomdready Gaming, Kaiwas, Lee Cunningham, Mickey Genver, Paul Bentley, Retropia TV, Skeleton Flower, Stu Gibson, That Guy 513, The Soul Assassin, YouTube Newbie, and anyone else? I think that's everyone that's commented for now. So don't forget, comment away in there. This is the most interactive, live, weekly Age of Sigmar related show out there on the internets. So, how are you this week, Mr. Remington? You're looking a little more clothed than last week, it's fair to say.
I am feeling good. Not done a lot, though. Just mooching around on my holidays. Painting. Been painting my Savage Orc boys, the maniacs. They're coming along good, so you'll get to show the audience some pictures later, maybe.
So you're just having a little bit of a slow week after all that action of jet washing last time out.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So I'm just grooving, chilling, fixing the car up, spraying my car.
I've had some requests, actually, for the Remington jet wash service. Has anyone been in touch with you regarding that? Because I think that could be a possible money spinner.
I did have a phone call from a number that I didn't recognise. I didn't answer it. So maybe that was them.
It could have been Newbie. I think he's after a bit of a jet wash. So let's have a look at something first of all, because you might think it's been a bit of a slow week for Age of Sigmar in terms of news, and you would be right. And if we have a look at the old GW website here, you can see there are no current pre-orders available whatsoever. And all these are considered new releases, such as the Start Collecting boxes, Shattered Dominion, of course, the Icewind Assault, and all the other Beast Claw Raiders.
Yep.
But there isn't anything that we haven't seen already.
I've got a brief question for you, Andy. Beast Claw Raiders, what are the core troops in that?
Your basic Beast Claw Raiders troops.
Yeah.
The most basic troops, I imagine, would be the Mournfang, probably.
Well, you know, with the new rules and stuff, one version of it is that you have what used to be core, didn't it? Like you have to have a certain type of figure. You know, it's usually like the basic spearman or the basic sword and shield guy. But with these Beast Claw Raiders, they're all kind of characters. So I think it's probably the Yetis, which is a bit odd.
You think the Yetis are the core of the army? Let's have a look at them.
I do, because everything else is a hero.
Yeah, I suppose you're not far off there. And as a Yeti lover that you are, you must be pleased about that they're finally getting some attention.
Yeah, I am pleased.
They haven't just been shuffled out like the Tomb Kings or various other units.
I kind of wish they had a couple of extra special rules. You know?
Oh, God. Is this Remington's Golden Ideas section of the show already?
I shall ponder on that, and we'll come to that section later, my $1 million ideas.
Oh, God. Well, we can all look forward to that, can't we?
Andy, hold on a sec, Andy. You're being a bit quiet about what you got up to. Are you still hiding under a shell, perhaps? after the most recent battles?
Well, that battle report that went up this week that everyone has surely seen, I think it's actually the fastest time that we've reached 1,000 viewers on a battle report so far, actually. So it's gone pretty well. Unfortunately, the result isn't what people were hoping for in that particular battle.
I'm presuming everyone's seen this battle. It's on your channel, isn't it? It's Bone Splitters versus Dwarden.
Yes. And we balanced it using...
That's right. I mean, predictably, Andy had a dwarf gun line, 2 organ guns with a cogsmith.
Yeah, they were sharing the cogsmith as well to spread the cog love around. Which
makes it so they pretty much never miss. And they're dozens of shots per round.
I was firing 4 barrels all the way through the game, and they didn't actually fail once because of that cogsmith between them.
That's a 4-up rerollable, isn't it?
Yes.
Huh. Well, it did well then. And you had some dwarf warriors. You had some of the flamethrower guys, didn't you?
Yeah, the Iron Drakes were very, very disappointing because you shot half of them down with a really nice round of shooting from those arrow boys.
Orc, Bone Splitter, arrow boys, and not to be underestimated. Now with 2 wounds. So, and they also get 2 shots each. So, you know, you can get a good 20 shots off in your first round just with 10 of them. And yeah, they were pretty cool for me. Did well.
2 shots, 2 wounds, and unlike some other missile troops, they're not relying on being far away from the enemy to get their second shot, are they?
I would wager that 1 Bone Splitter arrow boy is better than the Squid Gobber.
Should we look how many points on average 1 Bone Splitter arrow boy is in the General's Handbook here?
It's 100 points for 10, if I'm not mistaken. So,
right, so you could get 6 of them for 1 Squid Gobber.
That's correct. 6
I wonder which one you'd take.
6 of them doing 12 shots per round with 2 wounds each against the Squid Gobber, who's something like 4 wounds and D3 shots.
Yes, on average, those arrow boys would be dishing out probably 2 or 3 wounds per turn, whereas the Squid Gobber on average dishes out about 2 wounds per game. So I think we know which one we'd rather have in the army.
I mean, we've been here before. We've been to this. We always visit this, don't we? Because it's so disappointing. Great miniature. All it needs is, you know, bring back the templates, you know? Once you hit, it does an area damage template. That's all I'm saying.
It needs anything. Just boost it in some way or other to make it worth even owning and not just using as a rock lobber.
Definitely, because if a squig was fired out of a projectile mouth, it would like burst on impact, wouldn't it? So it'd be like a balloon filled with like acid, and it hits and it sets on fire, and it would just be like napalm, right?
Well, I'm not actually sure on the chemical biological makeup of a squig and its innards, but I'll take your word for it that they are pure acid inside.
In any case, watch this battle report. It's on Andy's channel. We had a lot of fun, and there's some songs in there. I think it got to round 4 or 5, didn't it? Turn 4 or 5.
Yeah, we got pretty much the entire game. I think we only left 1 turn out, I think, which was like half of a turn, because the game was already over at that point, because everything on one side was dead. I think we know who that was, unfortunately. Now, how did you find building a force using the General's Handbook with the points?
It was so much quicker and easier than how it used to be. Because how it used to be, there'd be points per model, and then adding points for the way you arm a model, adding points for a banner, a musician, a champion. And so what happens is you got uneven points. You know what I mean? Instead of having round numbers, you have uneven numbers. But having said that, with a little bit of wizardry, you could more or less get bang on the points total with the old rules. With the new ones, it's just a very quick shop. Put it that way. Everything's rounded up in points, I'd say.
I think we were within about 40 points of 1,000 either way.
Yeah,
it weren't completely precise, but it was in the right ballpark. And looking at the armies on the table, you thought maybe I didn't have enough stuff. But in the end, it turned out to be incredibly balanced, didn't it? Because it was right on a knife edge all the way up to the end.
Yeah, it was. I think I held my giant back, which is quite an unorthodox tactic. Usually people bomb them in, and I kept mine till the very end. So he was like the final hammer, final nail in your coffin, wasn't he? That guy with 3d6 attacks. So it meant he was completely unharmed, and I let my bone splitter boys take the brunt of the damage.
Well, all the ranges, pretty much, in Warhammer came down with the change into Age of Sigmar. War machines and cannons, in particular, lost a lot of range. So previously, it wouldn't have been possible to keep a giant out of artillery range very easily. Whereas now, you can quite easily sit him just outside the range. And then especially if those baleful realm gates are in play, and you position yourself close to one of them, he didn't need to come into range of that firing line. So I think those realm gates were definitely a nice benefit for you. And you weren't actually aware that you could come on from table edges at the start of the game, were you?
No, I thought when you go for a realm gate, you come out of the other realm gate, because there needs to be a minimum of 2 on there. But I've seen the light, and apparently you come out wherever you want. So first turn, I promptly put my Savage Orc Big Boss through the realm gate, right behind Andy's war machines. And that was a real cat amongst the pigeons, wasn't it, Andy?
It was not a fun time, although he did roll quite low on his charge, didn't he? So he didn't actually make it to the war machines.
He didn't make it, and so Andy piled in his dwarf warriors, but I dispatched them, but they did bog me down for a little while. But damn, them organ guns, they're so good. I think you ripped through 3 out of my 5 Savage Orc Boar Boys, didn't you, in one shooting turn?
Yes, and they did. They killed a troll and probably a load of arrow boys as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
They definitely did their job.
How many points were they, by the way?
The organ guns are 120 each, and the cogsmith is 100. So that little battery there is like 340 points.
Right, yeah, because I calculated you did about 40 wounds worth of damage. Something like that.
Definitely got my money's worth there.
Yeah.
And you didn't, if you'd got into combat with them earlier, they wouldn't have done anywhere near as much, I imagine.
No.
And when you did get to them, there were a couple of times where you just failed to wound the crew as well, which was quite funny.
Yeah. I mean, I think the organ gun's range is too far. A 28 inch, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
I think it should be less powerful at range as well. So the closer you are, the more powerful it is. Something like that. Because at the minute, it's just terrifying.
Yeah, but it's no good in combat, and you can always just target the crew. If you just walk a wizard up there, a couple of arcane bolts on them.
Walk a wizard there, he won't get close enough, will he? He'll get shot down.
Well, the wizards are pretty quick, you know. An arcane bolt doesn't have a particularly short range.
No, I think your dwarf fellas, they need a unit that's got some kind of movement that's better than movement 4. You know.
You think I should start using more gyrocopters and bombers?
Yeah,
what
definitely.
You're saying.
Yeah.
Because I have got this gyro bomber right here that's been sitting here unpainted for probably 18 months or so. And I'm kind of holding off on it now because I want to see what the new Steam Head Duardin are going to look like and whether that is even a thing anymore. And if it is, then I'll probably stick it on a round base instead.
It could be waiting a long time, Andy. I've got a feeling it's just going to be 40k for the next few weeks. People are saying it's going to be elves next. High elves, I heard.
Well, we've just had the Beast Claw Raiders, which is one of the repacks. So we are due for a full kind of release next. And when I say full release, they haven't been like huge the way they used to be. If you look at things like the Fire Slayers, you only had like, 4 kits in there maybe?
Yeah.
So it's not like the releases of old. So they can have them more frequently, and the armies are all smaller now. So I could see them definitely putting out an elf, some kind of elf army next.
I mean, I was talking to you about these Grand Alliance books, and I think the reason why when they come out, they're so cheap was because they're going to be outdated very, very soon. For example, the Savage Orcs in there are already outdated in their stats, and I think Games Workshop is direct gearing towards factions, you know, and battle tomes within the factions. And the Grand Order books, I think they're just to appease people that have a lot of different creatures. And
they were appropriately priced, though, the Grand Alliance books. They are incredibly cheap compared to all the other GW publications.
True. But I like the factions better. I like the sort of specialised armies. You know, it gives you much more of a purpose when you're building an army.
I'm definitely enjoying the Stormcast, and I think I'm just going to give people a little HD update on this guy now. Because, let's see, where's that autofocus? There we go. He's coming along nicely, I think.
Yeah, it's looking really cool.
Yep, just needs a bit more, well, quite a bit more work on the gold and the various little lightning bolts and his cloak and everything. But all the Dracoth is pretty much done now. I've got the eyes done. I've gone for a kind of an effect on his horns where it gets progressively lighter towards the end, like a lot of the pros do, but I'm not sure it looks that good.
I think it just needs some washes in there. Darker washes towards
a bit of something on there.
Are you going to do the flaming eyes a la Amy Snuggs style?
I'm not sure about that. I was thinking about it, but I'm not sure I could pull that off. And also, my Stormcast are a lot darker and moodier, and I've tried to avoid anything bright on them. Yeah. So I might not do any of that.
They did look really good on the table. And there's another... we've got another battle report soon, haven't we?
The next battle report, which is kind of in the can, but it still requires the many, many hours slaving over the hot computer of editing that I'm going to have to do to it to make it presentable to the general public. But there is one waiting in the wings, as it were.
It's featuring your black and gold boys, isn't it? Looking good.
Certainly is, against their fabled enemies that you may have seen Mr. Remington has been working on recently. So
yeah, I'm done with them guys. Them Bloodbound. I'm done with them for a little while, I think.
You've burnt yourself out painting those, have you?
Yeah, I'm back on the Savage Orcs. They're a lot more fun. I like painting flesh. I do, rather than don't know, a lot of red and gold and metal.
Well, before we continue talking about points, let's have a look at those Savage Orcs that you've been painting, shall we?
Oh, cool.
I have the image right here. You were kind enough not to send me a picture of your naked body this week.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with them.
I like the colour differences you've got going on the boar's fur.
Yeah, that's a lot of... actually, I do that pretty quickly. I get a base coat of Dryad bark, and then I put Doomball brown, dry brushed over the top, and then just progressively get lighter and more sparse. So I use Xandri Durst, Balor Brown, and then a little bit of white just on the end. I've probably gone a little bit overboard. And then the boar faces, I've done rat skin flesh, and then just bringing it up with Kislev flesh and with some washes. It's come out all right, man.
Is that one on the left completely done apart from the base?
Yeah, I just got to put some of the cracked earth stuff on the black bits of the base, and then that's done for me. That's just in line with my other Savage Orcs. But the guy on the top, the rider there, I was so tempted to not use him as a ball boy, but have him like on something where he's like flying through the air, so he could be a Savage Orc Moor boy. They're the ones that jump on the backs of beasts and try and slay them. That would have been quite good to have someone like just flying through the air, jumping, pole vaulting almost.
Well, you're definitely going to get more Savage Orcs. They do seem to be your big passion at the moment.
Yeah, I think out of all the armies, and I have played quite a few armies this year against you, I think my favourites got to be the Savage Orcs and the Dark Elves. My favourite armies.
So maybe if there's an elf release that's maybe a little bit on the dark side, that could be something that could tempt you.
I mean, we had one little game with my undead and your undead, and that was a lot of fun. So I'd like to give them another go. But I'm
summoning is a fun mechanic.
Yeah, I decided to sell one of my armies off. So at some point, when I've decided which one, I'll get a nice lot of pictures and I'll present them to our subscribers first to see what they think, and if anyone wants to put a little bid on, and if not, I'll go through the eBay channel.
I'm sure plenty of people out there would love to own a piece of Remington history. One of your many, many armies.
And I shall put in some, a free skull dice in there too.
How many of these boar boys have you got left to do now?
I got, another 8.5, I think. Yeah, 8.5 more.
Are you having fun with them as well? Because they don't look like they're outrageously complicated to paint.
No, a lot of fun. Really easy. I do the war paint the very last. That's the very last thing. Really, really easy. You know, basic rider. It's just a lot of green, wire flesh to start off with, and then you got the wood and you got the stone, and that's more or less it. Apart from his little leather bangles and bits of bones hanging off him. So you can batch paint them fairly quick. I'm batch painting the boars. I want to get them done. So yeah, surprisingly quick. I used to always just paint models one at a time, and then I'd end up with my work surface, just with about 30 paints, all the ones that I've used, and it's much more efficient just to batch paint them now. I think I'm not trying to win any awards, just want to get them to look as good as I can, but I'm not going to just lose interest from trying to paint them too well, if you know what I mean.
We've had a comment here from Legion of One. Really like the stone on them. Is it a load of dry brushing?
Yes and no. I've gone. I can't be bothered to keep changing paint brushes, so I just basically use a layer brush. I put on the fang, and then is it rust grey? No, yeah, rust grey, and then Fenrisian grey, and I kind of just wet palette them on. And if it's dry by the time I finish, then I'll dry brush the very last one. Maybe a bit of pallid witch flesh at the very last one. That's it, yeah.
It does look fairly kind of smooth and natural, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, some of my paints, they're getting really thick, on the verge of drying up. I think the green ones I've had, they're probably about 2 or 3 years old, so kind of fair enough. So I had to mix them with a bit of water. Which is, I just paint usually straight out of the pot, though, to be honest.
Yeah, so do I usually. That's why I'm not that big of a fan of the GW paints anymore, because they do thicken up when you leave the pot open to paint out of it.
Yeah. There you go.
Marge says the boar fur looks really good.
Cute.
And we're going to look at a couple of miniatures that were in the Andy and Rem Show Facebook group now from the audience. So these are some iron jaws from Okami Hanzo.
Yeah, straight out of Kill Bill. That was I think these are great, man. They're kind of dusty, aren't they? Very, dark and dull looking, but so full of character.
They're gritty, and then all these really vibrant leaves and little plants in the background as well.
I think they look very cinematic, especially look at the skull on the top right, kind of glowing green.
Yeah, he's definitely gone for some glowy effects there, like around the eyeballs and the teeth here on these big things that we're never quite able to identify that this guy's holding up.
My orcs always look a bit comedic because of the bright colours, but these look very menacing.
They do. Now let's move on to the next one. This is from Remy Tremblay, so your fellow Rem out there. And these are obviously from the Silver Tower.
This guy, just makes me want to stop painting because he's so good.
Yeah.
He puts a blog up, and I think he must have been working on Silver Tower miniatures for the last 4, 5, 6 months or so. But they just look phenomenal, don't they? Look at those bases; they're so matched to the gaming surface of Silver Tower. So smooth. These are pro quality, aren't they?
That certainly is. That's definitely a step above. A step above what you could do, 2 steps above what I could do, probably.
Yeah,
pretty damn good. Look, the skin, it just looks, it's perfect, isn't it?
So detailed.
You can't pick out one little brush stroke or anything.
No, and I thought just that Savage Orc I did it. The first picture I took, I thought I'd done it. First picture I took, I magnified it a bit, and I realised all the kind of mistakes I'd made and the kind of loose brushwork. So I ended up tidying it up a bit, but you can't see any flaws in these models.
None whatsoever. What I normally see when I zoom right in is like a stray hair dangling off their arm that you only see when the camera is like, it's got the flash on it and it's really well magnified. Or you see a tiny little piece of flock that got stuck in their armpit.
I mean, if you look at the loincloth on the front, you can see how it's gone from purple to blue. It's so well blended. That looks pretty tricky.
It's just smoothness personified, isn't it?
I mean, these are better than the Games Workshop ones, I think.
I think they probably are.
Yeah, I mean, all the models from Silver Tower that Reme has painted, they're all to this standard as well. Phenomenal.
We have got quite a few painting beasts in the Facebook group, haven't we?
Yeah.
Including, of course, the Golden Weasel champion, Mickey Genver. Everything she puts in there is pretty amazing as well.
Yep.
Right, let's stop looking at these for a second. So, Mr. Remington, we've had a year of playing games of Age of Sigmar with no points. After many a year of playing Warhammer Fantasy using points, and virtually every other game system that I've played has used some kind of point system. I'm going to assume that any that you've tried, if there are any other than Warhammer, have had point systems. Is that right?
Yep.
So, do you think this year of no points has benefited us or you or the community in general? Or do you think it was kind of a waste of time and now they've just ditched it and brought out the points and now everyone's going to be using them? Do you think it's had the desired effect, having that long period of no points? Trying to get people playing the game in the way they want, which is more narrative, fun, story-driven.
I don't know. I just suppose how many new players have come into the game would be the way to judge that. I think that Games Workshop, the clock struck midnight and they pressed the self-destruct button and they just started over again, didn't they? In every sense. New figures, new stories, new characters, and no rules. And slowly they're bringing them back in. I think they've done a good job and they've kept the debate going. And I think there's probably a fair amount of people that wrote off Age of Sigmar to start with that are giving it a try now.
I think that's definitely true. If you look on YouTube, for instance, a lot of the old guard from 8th edition who disappeared when Age of Sigmar came out, quite a few of those have, I'm not going to say come crawling back because they're still a little bit tentative, but they are giving it a shot at least.
Absolutely. I mean, Ninth Phase looks like pretty cool if you've still got the old blocks of armies and stuff, but I'm struggling to see how they could get new people into the game. You know, the access points could be quite difficult still, but with this, it's very, very simple. I mean, Games Workshop has been a sleeping giant, really, hasn't it? And now it's awoken. It's just trampling on everything before it.
Yeah, they did seem to get complacent for quite a few years, although they had their priorities a little bit skewed, perhaps. And they were concentrating on the here and now. We need our instant profits. It doesn't matter if this game maybe generates future sales for other systems, like the kind of gateway games, the little ones that are starting to release again now that they phased out. Those games weren't instantly profitable on a sheet of paper, on a balance sheet, so they were cut out. Whereas now they seem to be planning much more for the long term, kind of drip feeding us a game system. And all these little accompaniments that have been coming out as well.
For example, if you're a Wood Elf player, you might have been waiting 4 or 5 years before any updates really came out. If you're a Bretonian player, it was more than that. It's probably about 15 years, and then nothing actually happened for them anyway. But with this, we're seeing battle terms coming out furiously fast, and although they're repackaging stuff from before, there's still a lot of new stuff. You know, to whet your appetite. You know, everything's changed. New paints, new brushes, new scenery, new bases. In the last year, they've done, their output has been more than the last 10 years of fantasy releases, I'd say. Wouldn't you?
In terms of number of army releases, obviously the releases have been slightly smaller, which is probably a good thing. And it'll be interesting to see as the years roll on, whether they revisit and ever kind of redo, let's say, for example, the Fire Slayers, or whether they'll just tack things onto them, or like they did with the Stormcast, they added the Extremist Chamber, whether it'll just be like, here's an expansion to the Fire Slayers, adding these new units that you can now use. Yeah,
well, today I was perusing Games Workshop website, and they've got a page there called Bestsellers. Have you seen that?
I have not, actually.
If you can get it up, it'd be quite good. It's basically what I presume to be their best-selling Age of Sigmar models. And there's some surprises in there, but there isn't one Fire Slayer model on that page, so I'd be surprised if they get an expansion.
Okay, I found it. So let's get that screen share rolling. There we go. So quite an interesting selection here.
I mean, they're big. They're big models, aren't they? Big, expensive models. I'm surprised they're the best sellers.
They are. Is this legit though? Can we trust Games Workshop when they say these are the best sellers?
Well, they're either the best sellers or what models they're trying to get rid of. And if they're trying to get rid of stuff, I don't think it would be some of these models, to be fair.
I have a really hard time believing that Prosecutors are a bestseller when you get 3 of them in the starter set.
Okay. I mean, look, the prices, they're not cheap as well. I mean, look at the Saurus on the Carnosaur there. Wonderful model. £50. Well, you can buy a starter set and you get that free. And you get 8 Saurus riders and you get 10 warriors. So how is that a bestseller? I don't know. Obviously, the Age of Sigmar box set, I can see that there. The Ever Chosen, I'm surprised that's a bestseller. It's probably one of the best models I've ever done, but at the price, £100 for one model.
Yeah, I'm not convinced these are actually the bestsellers. I'm sure Archaean has sold well, because that's been out for quite a bit now. Celestant Prime, possibly as well. I'm sure there's a lot of Stormcast players because they were the shiny new thing.
There's different ways. It could be literally how many units have sold, or it could be the profit margin. Maybe that's how they figured out what the best sellers are. Because maybe to make that Celestin Prime only costs them like £5. So the
Glotkin's been out for a really long time. So I imagine they've sold quite a lot of those.
I mean, that's a mammoth model, isn't it? I think Nicky Genva took about 6 months to paint that one. It's huge.
It certainly is. The starter set, I can believe that, is a top seller.
Yeah.
Because it's a really good value product.
I mean, the Varangard at £60 for 3. Do you know anyone who bought them? Didn't Pezapoo buy a bunch of them?
I believe he did, actually. I don't know if he finished painting them or not.
Right.
So, yeah. I'm not completely sold on this idea.
I mean, Blood Warriors and Bloodbound, you may as well just, whatever you paint, first round, take half of them away because they're going to get killed.
Right, we've had a comment here questioning something I said from Matthias Schaefer, who says, hasn't the Extremist Chamber been part of the lore early on already? So he's pretty much saying, when I said they had the Stormcast and then they just added on like another branch to them later, they could do that with other armies. And he's saying, well, they already mentioned them previously, which is why they then rolled them out. But I think whether they're mentioned previously or not, you can still use that same idea of just having an extra book with rules for 3 or 4 units in it that they can come up with. They can work it into the fluff later, especially the way the realms are all kind of swirly and ever-changing.
Why wouldn't you say
can always add stuff.
Stormcast have had enough now, haven't they? They've got a big monster, they've got a big general, they've got shooty stuff, they've got
about eight characters, I think.
Yeah, they've got fighty stuff, they've got kind of anvil units, and they've also got flying units. So, I mean, that's all covered, isn't it? I'd be disappointed if they keep bringing more Stormcast stuff out.
Yeah, I don't think there's much they can add to the Stormcast right now when the other ranges are much more bare bones. There's a lot more they could do with, for example, the Fire Slayers.
In what way?
Well, they haven't got that much, really, have they? They've only got about 4 units and the big beastie and a couple of heroes on foot.
They've got a few heroes, they've got magic, they've got a big monster, they've got fighter units, they have got shooting, because all those standard units have little throwing axes, don't they? They don't have any long range stuff. What would you add to them?
I think they could have kind of like your monstrous cavalry, like Mournfang sized, on your little mini, like baby Magmadroths. I think they could do that.
I think maybe some artillery, maybe a magma ball. And they like just have a. Do you know when the Romans invaded Britain?
I remember that clearly.
Yeah, the Picts and the, what are they called? The English people, fighters, warriors. Thingy on the chariot, the woman on the chariot. Not Brunhilde.
I can't remember.
Boudica. Well, some of their it's in Spartacus as well. The slave army, they have this ball made up of like twigs and branches and stuff. It's kind of like one of them elastic bands where you build them up until you get a ball. You do that, and then like you roll it down a hill and set it on fire. What about that for the fire slayers? It's like a bowling ball that goes on fire.
A giant flaming bowling ball. Now, normally I would shoot down your ideas, but I do think it does have some legs, not exactly the way you've described it, but some kind of huge flaming ball dispenser of some kind. I wouldn't mind seeing something along those lines. I think they would have to get together a big team of designers and come up with a way to make that look decent rather than just a bundle of twigs rolling downhill.
Well, what about, now you say dispenser, that's given me just yet another $1 million idea. Now, do you know when like you're a kid and you had like the gobstopper machines and you put like 10p and you turn the thing and the sweet comes out? Well, they could have that, like a giant pillar with all balls inside it, and then you've got like a fire slayer priest. He like presses a button and then the ball drops out, and just, especially on a hill, have a bonus on a hill, couldn't it? The gobstopper.
Yes.
But with wheels on, so you can move it around.
Gobstopper with wheels. Now, I was initially optimistic at the sound of flaming balls, but I don't think we're in the realms of reality anymore, Mr. Remington. I think you've wandered off the edge a bit.
Okay.
I think the people would probably agree with me there. Now, people have been making some suggestions, actually, on things that could be added to Stormcast. I think a lot of them are kind of joking, though. Stormcast Dreadnought, says Retropia TV, comparing them to Space Marines, of course. Well, yeah, the one thing that the Stormcast do lack, as I have pointed out many times, is a really tall Stormcast who isn't just floating, isn't riding on a monster, he's just a big suit of armor. A Stormcast giant, if you will, much like the Colossus that I painted gold, but more in keeping with the Stormcast aesthetic. Something like that I think would be cool. Because if Sigmar is truly the wondrous and wise almighty being that he is, surely he would recruit giants and ogres to his army and put them in suits of armor, suitably sized.
Yeah.
You would think. Some of the other armies, like the repacks, of course, have got a huge amount of units to choose from because they're the old model ranges, but eventually you would imagine they'll be phased out for the most part. You've got your likes of Iron Jaws, where they've actually kept one of the old kits, that being the Black Orcs. So anything that was more recent, like, for example, with the Dwarden, you would keep the Iron Drakes and that kind of thing.
They'd keep the Iron Drakes, they'll keep the Longbeards, they'll keep the...
Probably the Gyrocopter, that's new as well.
Yeah. And the Bomber.
Anything that still looks in keeping with the aesthetic and is quite new, you would imagine will find its way into the new model range.
Now, from models, let's just quickly move on to new scenery, because I've just had yet another $1 million idea, right?
Oh, God.
What if you have like a bit of scenery that's part of, like, do you know where Sigmar makes all the Stormcast? He must have a casting machine that makes them. You know what I mean? Like a plastic caster thing, and it would be like tombs with like the cast of a Stormcast inside it, kind of like, you know, like mummies where they're stood up in their boxes and it opens up, kind of like that, but in the shape of Stormcast. It'd be like not ruins, but it'd be like the actual workshop, Sigmar's workshop. Because that could be a great thing for scenarios, couldn't it? Like the Bone Splitters have found the realm gate that takes them, and they want to just destroy his workshop just to annoy him.
The one thing that sprang to mind immediately then was the Thundercats versus Sigmar the Ever-Living.
Yeah.
We've got a few more comments here. That guy 513 thinks it'd be cool to see Chaos or Undead Stormcast, which I think if they insist on releasing more Stormcast, but they've got enough in their kind of full army, they want to branch them out a bit, I would definitely be behind. Probably Undead Stormcast, I think, would be a lot more fun if it's just like an empty husk, the armor, with maybe a skeleton inside it rather than a man.
I think that's problematic because Stormcast are all armor. So How do you know they're undead? They
You could
are
take
kind
off
of
the
undead.
helmet, you could lose like an arm's worth of armor and have just a bone sticking out of it. Have them a bit beaten up, holes in them.
And again, both ideas, I think it's too much based on Stormcast. Too much.
They are the poster boys. They didn't put that statue out there so they could stop releasing Stormcast models anytime soon.
Yeah, but they've done enough now, haven't they? Come on. Let's get some Beastmen going.
Well, the Beastmen, do you think they're going to get a full complement of releases that are in something goat-like at least?
Beastmen should have had their own scenery a long time ago. They should have a big weird stone thing with all like crap and skulls and bones all around it. What do they call it again? The Herdstone. That'd be an awesome bit of scenery. Massive. You know, like a massive mound. But new models for Beastmen, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you've covered goats, you've got dogs. You've already got ratmen, haven't you? Not sure. What do you find in the forest? Creatures do you find? Foxes?
Well, here's an idea for you. If they're going to be goats, maybe the new twist on the goats, other than just having hooves and beast faces, goat's milk and goat's cheese are ever growing in popularity, aren't they?
Oh.
So maybe they're going to be masters of cheese divination. Which I didn't know was a real thing until I heard of the word tyromancy. And it is a real thing.
Well, talking of farm-wild animals, if you've got goat men, why not have cow men? Or sheep men? That'd be kind of funny, wouldn't it? Like a beast man sheep, and it's got all like the fluffy wool around it. It'd be a bit crap, wouldn't it?
So the cow troopers, of course, would be the ranged assaults with the like udders.
Well, you've got bulls, haven't you? You've got bull gores, haven't you? Is that kind of, they've covered that. Horsemen?
YouTube newbie says fishmen.
Fishmen, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had fishmen for a while.
Yeah,
they do get mentioned a lot, but they haven't been released.
It would be nice to get a completely new faction, wouldn't it? That'd be good.
Completely new in the same way Stormcast were completely new.
Yeah.
I think there will be something like that eventually, I'm sure. But for now, I'm just looking forward to seeing what the reimagined elves and dwarves are going to look like. I think that's going to be fun. By the way, someone in the comments asked if I'm wearing a pink jumper. This is actually a t-shirt, and I'm wearing this for a reason, because this was the first orange garment I bought when I made a conscious effort to wear orange, and it's faded over the years, so it's kind of more of a salmon colour now, isn't it? It's kind of pinky orange at the moment.
Well, Adrian Marseille, if I said that right, has got a nice suggestion here. Planet of the Apes type monkey men for the destruction faction. Give them a Hindu aesthetic. So like Hindu, you've got Hanuman, the monkey god. And then they kind of got Rama and Sita and all those, you know, riding chariots and bows. And what was the bad guy called in the Ramayana? I can't remember, but he had 10 heads. That could be interesting, couldn't it? Like a 10-headed monster.
The 10-headed beast and monkey men. I could see them having monkey men. It's not that outrageous, is it?
Monkey men would be really fun to do. Because they'd all be like, they wouldn't be just stuck on a base. They'd be like jumping and climbing and, you know, hanging off things.
It's a possibility. The thing is, though, would they have a Dr. Zaius? That's what everyone would want to know. Right. We've got something else to look at now. That's quite juicy. So as you know, Games Workshop have been running their campaign, the whole season of war business, where people can affect the fate of the various cities in the realm of life. So you can see here that Grundaline's Order are currently holding all of them. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, we need to submit our results then, don't we? Because we could bring back one for the destruction team. Yeah,
I'm not sure that's going to be enough, though, because look at this. This is the living city. Look how one-sided it is. I mean, if you add up all the other factions together, they just about beat Order. But it's not even close, really, is it?
Wonder how much of that Order is Sigmarites.
I'm going to guess quite a bit.
Well, a lot of people have got elf armies, haven't they? And
yeah,
you know,
elves, dwarves, empire. any of those old armies. But
Yeah.
I would imagine a lot of it is made up of Stormcast. And if you look at the other one here, it's a very, very similar picture.
Well, I'm glad in a way because I've got sick and tired of Chaos always winning.
And the next one, again, very, very similar. They're almost identical, those ratios.
So in case people didn't know, this is the result of actual punters' battles. And they put in their results of what battle reports have done or what they've bought or painted. And you can see that Order's winning out. And this is going to get written into the Warhammer lore.
Yes, the next campaign book or something is going to be based around the results of this, I believe. Something along those lines. So it's interesting, but I'm not sure how much of an effect people are actually having if it's so one-sided. You would like to see it being a little bit closer, and they've had all these incentives thrown out there each week for people to play certain factions. And right now, until the 11th of August, which is just a couple of days left. So the Tyrants of Chaos, I'm going to do a little reading of this bit here. Seeing the seeds of hope slip from his grasp and the battle for Gairan going against him, the Ever-Chosen commands his legions to make one final push to claim the realm of life, and orders his generals to kill any that flee from their duty to him and the gods. So, the battle shock tests. Basically, you get re-rolling of battle shock tests.
Right.
But if Arcane is on the battlefield, well, a unit can only benefit from the reroll once per turn. If the Chaos Hero within 6 inches is your general, or if Arcane is on the battlefield, the Chaos Hero may inflict D3 mortal wounds on any of your own Chaos units that fail a battle shock test, to allow that unit to automatically pass the test instead. So if you think you're going to lose a huge amount of troops from battle shock, like you take 10 casualties, so you're way over the limit already, then you would just take D3 casualties, wouldn't you? Rather than rolling the dice.
Yep. Yeah, that's all right, isn't it?
So it's a nice little bonus there.
I have a little problem with Archeon, Andy. Now, the old world, right, was millennia ago, wasn't it? Thousands of years before this Age of Sigmar, right?
Allegedly, yes.
How come Archeon is still alive? How come he's not died of old age? Now, Ilariel's still about, but she's like the spirit of nature, so you can see her constantly kind of being reborn, but Archeon should be like well past it.
Well, Chaos is permanently around, so I imagine they just reincarnated him and made his beast extra powerful.
Yeah, can't see it. I can't see it. I think he must be like a decrepit old man by now. I mean, he's as old as Nagash. Don't make sense. Unless it's kind of like, do you remember that film, The Prince's Bride?
People keep telling me I should have seen that, but I haven't actually watched the whole thing yet.
Lovely film, wonderful film. Well, there's the Dread Pirate. I can't remember his name. Dread Captain Roberts or whatever. And he's such a myth that what happens is whenever whoever's the current Dread Captain Robert is, he passes the baton over to someone else who then becomes the Dread Captain. So the myth carries on. So I think that's what Archeon does. I think the original Archon died ages ago, and he just kind of gives his armor to the bestest Chaos Knight around, and then he's Archeon. It's the only way it can make sense, because he's like older than some of the Chaos gods, isn't he?
I'm sure there's probably something in the fluff that contradicts everything you've just said, but I don't know. If anyone in the comments would like to let us know exactly how that works.
Well, look, YouTube Newbie says he's the ever-chosen Rem. Well, he's chosen. Doesn't mean he lives forever, does it?
Unless he was chosen to live forever. By the way, people in the comments have been talking about the Famir. Now they're starting to pop up a bit. It looks like they're going to be getting more attention from Forge World. The Famir.
Oh, wow. Cool. Well, they've currently got, I think, 2 models, haven't they? 2 variants.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they're going to get a full range, but there have been rumblings that they're going to get something. So that's going to be really interesting. If they get a full release the same way the Chaos Dwarves did from Forge World, that would be really exciting, wouldn't it?
So if you don't know what the Fimir are, they're kind of like swamp monsters, aren't they? Right.
Yes, one-eyed swamp monsters. And they were in the original Hero Quest as one of the monsters.
All right.
Alongside the Chaos Warriors and the Skeletons. The Fimir were in there as well. But they didn't get much love after that, to be honest.
No, I don't. I've got my Fimir. I've got not my Fimir, but I've got some Fimir up for you just to peruse at. If you want to see quickly. This is what I have here. Here I go. There's some Fimir there.
They are very, very tasty.
Yeah, these Forge World models, I think they're about 30 odd quid for 3. But they're kind of like ogre sized, aren't they?
Yeah, they give you a kind of like the heads on them give you a kind of dark crystal kind of vibe, don't they?
Yeah, I think they're superb. Really like them.
The way the teeth kind of stick out the mouth. Very, very tasty. So we'll keep our eyes firmly fixed on the Warhammer Forge section of the Forge World website and let you know if we see anything juicy popping up in the world of the Fimir.
Right, now I've managed to strategically divert your attention away from what you intended the show to be about, Andy. That's why I'm still awake. Have you noticed?
Well, I believe you did have a pillow set up, and if I got the calculator out, you were actually going to start slouching down into the chair and start snoring. So we didn't go that far. We did actually talk a bit about points, though. But before we finish off talking about points a little bit, there is one more thing I want to touch on regarding that. I think it's time for your favourite section of the show.
Oh, would that be what the hell is that?
I think it might be. So what you should probably do is start screen sharing your what the hell is that for this week. Tell people how many models are in it, and then give us the theme tune.
All right, today's what the hell is that, where you have to guess which figures make up the mutation that Remington has created. Just another of his $1 million ideas, you could say. And this is made up of, I believe, 6 miniatures from the Games Workshop range.
And by the way, there is a potential prize on offer this week. It's not a guaranteed prize, but there is a chance of winning a prize as a result of winning any what the hell is that this month.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Shared. What the hell is that?
Oh my God. It's a monstrosity, all right.
6 different models are made up out of this thing that's lurking through the Mirkwood.
Right, let's have that song.
What the hell is that? 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 Only Andy and Remington know.
So, folks, 6 models there. And to give you a little bit of info on the prize situation, then we are going to be giving away a monthly prize. So, for anyone that wins what the hell is that, their name, along with the 3 or 4 other winners from that month, will be put into a draw, and then one of those people will win that prize. So if you win what the hell is that 2 or 3 times, you're giving yourself a very good chance of winning the prize. So a bit more incentive to be guessing away.
So what do you see, Andy? Describe this beast before you.
I see some kind of bald mage with a staff that has a head on the end of it.
It's kind of like a rubbish collecting thing. You know those things that you used to pick up litter?
He's got some really weird groinal attachments going on there.
He's got a big club, hasn't he? It's kind of a bit bendy.
Yes.
He's got a mask there that you can use to scare people with.
A belt buckle that looks like somebody's head.
Yep.
We have got our first batch of guesses here from Dino Titan Edition. So, I hope you're paying attention, Mr. Remington. See how many of these are correct. So, here we go. Night Goblin Hero with Great Axe. Man-Eater Ogre. Sigmar Priest. Imperial Wizard. Magic Ogre Thing from Silver Tower. Lizardman Shield. And that lizard thing shooting spikes from the Lizard Men. Now,
it's difficult to point that because you've got.
Yeah, a couple of them weren't specific enough, were they?
You got to give me a specific model. You can't say that lizard man thingy because that could be anything.
If we leave out the 2 of them that were very vague, how many of those were correct?
points.
Right. We've got Darth Plagueis 101 as guest, Night Goblin Shaman, Saurus Shield, Raised on Tail. I'm assuming that's Razed on Tail that's been auto-corrected. Ogroid and Empire Wizard.
4 points.
Ooh, we're getting closer. Come on, folks. You know you want a chance at that juicy prize. Can't actually announce what the prize is because we're currently in advanced negotiations regarding the prize support for this show.
Oh, but it's good. It's really good.
So it's going to be something juicy, rest assured.
It's actually real as well.
Yes, it's not just Balsa Wood membership.
It's virtual membership.
It will be a real prize. Right then, while we're waiting for these guesses to come flooding in and we're staring at this image, let's touch on the last little bit of the points debate that I want to have.
Okay.
Because you did kind of divert attention away from it a little bit. So, do you feel that you are more equipped to use your imagination to play a war game than before, now that you've had to deal with no points and just coming up with a scenario that's fun rather than balanced?
Absolutely. It's much more like when I first started playing Warhammer as a kid. You just like make up scenarios and, you know, you kind of... Like when I was young, I had this Games Workshop Norman model because they used to do like Vikings and Normans and, you know, random stuff from actual history. And this Norman guy was so awful. We used to call him the cheesy Norman. And he didn't have any armor, but he had like a Norman helmet. And me and my mates had this thing, like he didn't get a normal armor save, he got a jam on hat save, which meant, you know, it just, the wound just kind of deflects off his like pointy hat. And it just made a reroll of a 6. But the amount of times I attained jam on hat was just so funny. And Age of Sigmar now is truly like that. You can just kind of put little add-ons as you go along, you know, very basic. When you don't know, not using points or special rules or anything like that, it's just a lot of fun.
Do you think we should include a Norman's cheesy helmet rule in our next game?
The cheesy Norman, jam on hat. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But I mean, back then it was, we didn't have regiments, just had like individual figures. So it's kind of the way Sigmar's gone, it's kind of married two things up, hasn't it? Because you do have units now, quite a lot of models in, and you do have like individuals roaming around, which you didn't really have so much in 8th edition, did you? You know, characters, you put them in units so they didn't get shot down.
I think one thing it's definitely done, Age of Sigmar, is built a community and an audience who are more willing to go for the narrative style of battle reports in their viewing rather than the competitive ones. Because if you look prior to Age of Sigmar, there were a few narrative battle report channels, but they didn't really get views or subscribers. They kind of just sailed under the radar and didn't get any attention.
Right.
Whereas the competitive ones were the ones that harvested in all the subscribers. Now there are actually people out there who want to watch the fun narrative nature of Age of Sigmar, I think. So that's benefited people like us. That's the kind of content we're built to put out, really, because we're never going to have the uber competitive lists in there. It's always going to be more about the fun of the story and the silly voices.
Absolutely. And whatnot. And speaking of that, there's been some people putting up battle reports in the form of comic book pictures with speech bubbles coming out, and they look brilliant.
Yeah, those are actually quite funny. I'm not sure whether I could read an entire battle report in that format, but the bits I've seen so far have been quite amusing. Okay, let's go to these guesses then, shall we? So we've got Barnaby Lovell, Night Goblin Lord, Razordon, High Elf Mage, Ogre Maneater, oh no, Ogre Imperial Maneater, that should be, Thaumaturge, I don't think anyone's spelling this correctly, Thesaurus Old Blood, and Sigmar Priest.
Oh, it's very close. You say Sigmar Priest, you've got to be, what model kit is it from? Because that is not an individual model, I'm afraid. So I'm going to have to give you 4 points. But you did well.
Getting close still. Stu Gibson says Goblin Warboss, Empire Light Wizard, Razordon, Ogre Maneater, Ghoul King, Old Blood Shield.
4 points.
Another close one. Skeleton Flower says Light Wizard, Night Goblin Warboss, Razordon Tail, Ogroid Head, Imperial Maneater Legs, Temple Guard Shield.
5 points.
Oh, so we've got someone in the lead right now. Skeleton Flower. Dino Titan Edition. Night Goblin Hero with Great Axe, Maneater Ogre, Sigmar Priest, Imperial Wizard, Ogroid, Razordon.
4 points.
Okay, then we've got, I think this is a sensible guess from Newbie for the first time ever. So, Brett Reliquary, Skink Saurus Shield, Slanesh Demon Head from Valkyria the Corn Demon Woman, Orc Shaman Head, Spiked Tail from a Lizardman Salamander.
0 points.
Poor Newbie. Adrian Marseilles, I'm going to assume that's pronounced, Razordon Tail, Lizardmen Shield, High Elf Wizard, Night Goblin Lord, Sigmar Priest, Maneater Ogre.
2 points.
Okay, and Dino Titan Edition again. Night Goblin Hero, Maneater Ogre, Sigmar Priest, Imperial Wizard, Ogroid, Razordon. I think we've already established that Sigmar Priest isn't specific enough, didn't we?
Yep.
So we need more specific than Sigmar Priest. TCR Felton, Light Wizard, Empire Maneater, Razordon, Saurus Guard, Night Goblin Boss, Demon Prince.
4 points.
Dino Titan Edition is guessing again, but he's still just got Sigmar Priest in there. So that's not going to be correct, is it? But he says Night Goblin Hero, Maneater Ogre, Sigmar Priest, Imperial Wizard, Thaumaturge, Stegodon.
2 points.
So, is that not quite specific enough Sigmar Priest that's been letting people down? Now, who was it that got 5?
Skeleton Flower, and the very first answer was pretty much on the right lines, but didn't name things specifically, which is what you have to do in this game. So at the minute, it's Skeleton Flower.
Okay, Skeleton Flower has guessed again here. Luminar, Light Wizard, Imperial Maneater Legs, Ogroid Head, Razordon, Temple Guard Shield, Night Goblin Warboss, Big Boss.
Correct. Well done. It is the wizard that you get with the Luminarch model, the Celestial Hurricane and Lunarch model. It's not, you can't just say Lizardman Shield. That's actually a Temple Guard Shield. The face there is the head of the Ogre Former, can't say it properly, that you get in the Silver Tower. It is a Razordon Tail. It is a Night Goblin Warboss with double-handed axe. And it is an Imperial Maneater at the bottom. Let's show the reveal, Andy.
Yep, just firing it up now. Ready on that reveal. And there we go.
Yes.
There is the solution to the conundrum. So very well done to Mr. Skeleton Flower, who will go into the draw for our first of these monthly prizes. If he wins all of them, then of course he would just automatically win the prize for that month. So there's a challenge laid down for Mr. Skeleton Flower right there. And of course, this is one of the many, many benefits to watching this show live, even with the chance of winning some sweet, sweet prizes. Delicious. Now, there's another thing as well that I want the people to get involved in here. Inspired by seeing all the Dracoths from Amy Snuggs on Facebook, and also from painting my Lord Celestant so far, not finished yet, but I decided to get some more Dracoth riders. I'm going to have a really quick look at the war scrolls for each of the options, and I want people to guess how I have built them out of the 4 options. So, here we go. At the top of the page, first of all, we have the concussors, the guys with the big hammers. Now, these are actually more points than all the others. All the others are 240 points for 2. These guys are 280 points for 2, if you think that was weighed into my thinking at all. So, the benefits to these guys is that they have these big hammers that can prevent you from piling in, basically, for the rest of the round if they hurt you. And on a 6, they do a mortal wound. And also, they just keep trying to damage you in addition to that. So it'll do a mortal wound, but it doesn't stop there. They then continue to damage, and each one will do 2 damage each, the lightning hammers. So pretty tasty there. Also, their blast from the mouth of the beast has a 12-inch range. It's not the same for all of them. The Desolators, their beast has the same range. The bonus to these guys is that they get better. They have more attacks the more you have in the unit. So if you think that's something I would have gone for, then you're quite frankly nuts, but you never know. The next ones, Fulminators. These guys with the long poles are all about the charge, because their kind of breath attack from their Dracoths only has a 6-inch range, but they're supposed to be charging anyway. So when they charge, it does 3 damage rather than 1 if it charged in that same turn. So as you can see, it normally does 1, so it would actually do 3. And when it says same turn, that's not just after you charge. It's if you just happen to go first, then in your opponent's turn, I would assume you also get that bonus as well. So that is a pretty tasty one for them. Then we've got the Tempestors. With their crossbows, with the 12-inch range, they also have the slightly shorter range for the Breath of the Beast attack, which doesn't seem to mesh that well with having a long-range weapon, but this still pretty tasty. Because at the start you can concentrate fire with them on an enemy unit within 12 inches. All models must attack them, and until your next hero phase, your opponent must subtract 1 from any hit rolls made for that unit. So you can like pin people down with withering fire with these guys, and they have quite a lot of attacks as well. 4 shots. So which ones do you think I made? Was it the Concussors, the Desolators, the Fulminators, or the Tempestors? Have you got any inkling, Mr. Remington?
Ooh, well, I think you would want to... You like your shooting units, don't you? So you might have gone for the crossbow guys, or you might have gone for the one that matches up with Vander's Hammerhand. Because if you put him in with the 2 Dracoths, then you've got a little unit of 3, haven't you?
Yeah, you can have them running around as a trio.
Yes. Wouldn't it be nice if they failed a bravery test, eh?
The Lord Celestin actually has the option of 2 different hammers. He has one hammer that's similar to the Concussors. He has another hammer that is kind of unique to him. He also has the axe, and he has something else. He can take pretty much most of the weapons that they can take, but he also has a special hammer as well that's unique to him.
Right. I think you've gone for the hammers.
Let's see what the people think. Newbie thinks the Desolators. Anybody else has guessed?
So what's the choice? Crossbow, polearm, or hammer?
Crossbow, hammer, axe, or speary type lance.
Right, okay.
Well, Auric Lovegod seems to have some inside information and has revealed the answer. So I'm going to show you them fully assembled right here. They're about to come into view. It's the hammers, the Concussors.
Now,
Look at these bad boys.
These ain't cheap, are they? £30 and 240 points, right?
280 points for these guys.
Wow. So yeah, that's like 28 Savage Orcs.
So the bases are all sanded up and everything. Getting ready to roll.
Are you going to put him in with Vandus?
Well, I've been looking at the potential combo of teaming them up with him. And if I use the Lord Celestant with the, I think it's called the Tempestus hammer, it's really good at fightiness, the hammer, but it doesn't stop people piling in like their hammer does. So I'm thinking I don't need 2 units with that ability. If they attack the same thing, I only need 1 of them that's going to stop people piling in and attacking. I don't need to double up on that. So I can use his hammer as the Tempestus hammer, which is better, I believe. I think it's when he charges, something like that. So it's going to make him a beast, but he's still got a hammer. And these will continue the hammery theme that I've got going on with my Stormcast. You'll notice I haven't really got any swords.
No, and they've got a shooty attack, haven't they? A long shooty attack.
Yeah, they've got the nice 12-inch range breath attack from their beasties, which of course can also be used in combat, as long as you didn't just charge. So I think going to be a pretty tasty choice, and I'm sure you're looking forward to facing them on the battlefield. Auric Lovegod said that's 10 maniac boar boys in points.
I think they're probably better than 10 Maniac Boar Boys myself. But having said that, that's 10 Maniac Boar Boys, that's 30 wounds. And these guys only got 5 wounds each, so that's 10
5
wounds.
wounds each. They do have good armor.
Amazing armor save. So you're looking at, you have to get these guys with mortal wounds, really, or rend.
Yes, you want to get it, rend. Even a little bit of rend isn't that great because they have the shields. So they can re-roll ones as well with their 3+ saves.
I think the way to keep these guys: 2 wizards, arcane bolt. Try and kill one of them, and then the other one hopefully will run away.
Well, that's not going to happen. They're not going to run away after 1 casualty because they have bravery 7. So unless you've got something to drop their bravery as well, like some of the special terrain rules.
I just think concentrate all fire. There you go. That's my thing.
Mortal wounds will take anything down, apart from the things that have saves against mortal wounds, like, for example, the bone splitters. So I think I'm going to have to get also this guy painted up. The Lord Relictor. I need to get him finished so he can dish out some of his healing goodness onto anyone that suffers the fate of a mortal wound as well.
So that means you've got them 2 concussors. You've got Lord Relictor and you've got Vandus. Is there any
Well, the Lord Relictor is Vandus. Vandus Hammerhand is just what they call the Lord Relictor on Dracoth in the starter set.
Right, well, you've only got. Oh, you've got a bunch more liberators to paint, haven't you?
Yes, I've got 5 Liberators sitting over there that haven't been painted yet, and I've got some more still on a sprue if I decide I want even more of them.
They're the ones that I gave you, right? Mm-hmm.
I think I've already painted the ones you gave me. Because I got them before I actually bought a starter set.
Cool. Right, so what are we going to do next, Andy?
Well, we have told people that there is a battle report coming up next, which is going to be Stormcast versus Bloodbound. So without telling you anything about that game, because that would be a spoiler, we are going to be looking at possibly doing the missions from the Age of Sigmar rulebook featuring Stormcast and the Bloodbound. Because I think people would be interested in seeing that, and I think you'll enjoy getting those Bloodbound on the table after you spend all those hours slaving over them on the painting table.
Yeah, I guess so. I think they need backup. They're not good enough.
Well, we shall see. And I have no idea what you're doing there.
I'm just scraping out. It's my nerd confession. Scraping out dry paint from the top of Citadel paint pots.
That is a top tip, actually. Don't let the paint build up in the top of those pots, or they do dry up extra fast. You'll notice that all mine close perfectly, because I'm very, very careful at getting in there with a knife every now and then and just scraping out the excess.
I'm literally watching paint dry.
Much like people probably feel about this show at times. Only when we discuss points, though, and you fall asleep. That's the only time this show is boring. Normally, it's the pinnacle of entertainment. Right, so before we wrap this one up, let's see. Let's give some shout-outs to some people we maybe haven't mentioned yet. Let's see. There's Mini Warrior, the Soul Assassin, I don't think we've mentioned yet. Who else hasn't had their name mentioned at all on the show? There's got to be a few. Cimmerian Shadows. Don't think we've mentioned them before. Might be a brand new viewer. Wasgob. Right then. So, hopefully we'll have some more Age of Sigmar leaks to sink our fangs into next week. Maybe some pictures of some elves or some fingers crossed Dwardin.
I'm very much hoping so. I don't think there will be any more though, do you? Not for a little while.
I think we're due a leak of something brand new in the next couple of weeks, and normally it breaks on a Monday, which is why we're adequately placed to cover anything that pops up first, usually with our Tuesday night show.
Speaking of 40k, though, I must admit I am tempted by them Harlequins. They look great, don't they? No, don't you think? They brought out this new box set, haven't they? You got Harlequins against these Deathwatch, Raven, Stormcast, Stormtrooper guys.
There are a lot of nice 40k models. I'm just not a huge fan of the rules, particularly.
Right, I've never played it, but yeah, I do like those Harlequins. I mean, I'm just thinking with the basic warriors, perhaps you could use them in Age of Sigmar somehow. You could use them.
There's nothing wrong with just getting them and painting them up as a nice hobby project, even if you don't want to play anything with them.
Yeah. That's most of my models are that.
Most of your armies are that, pretty much.
You know, I've got to get rid of them. I'm so attached. It's so I don't know how people to bring themselves to sell an army. You think of the hundreds of hours you've invested in that army.
Or in the case of some people that I've come up against in the past, the hundreds of seconds they've spent on that army.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that the better painted a model is, the better it does on the battlefield. I
don't believe that, but I do believe that it makes your opponent have a more enjoyable experience.
Put it this way: if you've got unpainted models, I'd be wanting to take them off the table first. You know, so it's like a little mind game.
If you think about it, that one boar boy of yours who's still on a square base, he's always the first thing to die, isn't he?
Exactly, that's my point. Exactly. But I doubt we'll be seeing him anymore. He's going to have the proper savage boar boys coming soon to wreak havoc.
Oh dear, oh dear. So, folks, thanks for joining us on this episode 60. And I'm sure all these people here in the audience right now will be joining us when we reach episode 100, 200, 300. I don't see any reason why we should stop unless Mr. Remington goes on an all-year worldwide musical tour. So, let's get this wonderful image with my beautiful Photoshop abilities. You would really believe that I actually snuck into Chateau de Remington and took a picture of him in his sleep, wouldn't you? Look at those eyes that are so legitimately closed and not at all photoshopped in the least. He's mesmerized by it. Very impressive, isn't it?
It's very good. I like it.
Also, folks, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to join the Andy and Rem Show Facebook group. And stay tuned. Good night out there.
Hush now, Andy, don't you cry. Remington's boar boys will help your dwarves die. Hush now, Andy, go to sleep. Might or may need